welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowan. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. We're going to take a look at some of the international rugby from the south. Then we'll head north to Northampton, where we'll be joined by England and British and Irish Lions for Courtney Lawes to discuss his return to Saints and their unbeaten start to the season. So sit back, enjoy, and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify. How's your week been, lads?
Good, Jim. How was your weekend, son?
All good. I don't know who goes first and who goes second, but nonetheless, it was good. It was good. Interesting weekend that I need to share with you. And lads, we know it's been 18 months or so, whatever it's been, lost count now. Having been stuck in the house on Zoom, we've been out a little bit. So I've been out a little bit, but not like out. Or I've been out a couple of times, but not out working. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it was my first night on the after dinner circuit again, on that scene again.
Oh, wow.
Now, yeah, it was, Andrew. I know you've done a few, and we've had, I think, one live show in the last 18 months. But that was it. That was like my big moment to get back out there.
Peacock.
Put myself... Peacock, get out there, take the new material out to the masses that I've been thinking about during the last 18 months, smash it, and that could be the start of basically Jim the Comedy Genius Hamilton tour of Scotland.
Yeah, and it went down like a shit sandwich.
How did you know?
Did it really?
Tumbleweeds. Absolute tumbleweeds. I'm gutted. I mean, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I looked $1 million fucking dollars.
You did look sharp. You did look sharp.
Again, I've not wore the glad rags. So this is what I've been trying to get out to the millions. I had my tartan trews on, my black watch trews. I had my velvet jacket on. I had my new high-collared Italian shirt. Smelt amazing. Looked amazing. Absolutely bombed.
Well, did you have you not put the old red suede jacket on again? Maybe that's why they didn't laugh at you.
I could have walked in there, start bollock naked. I don't think they were going to laugh at me. I'll be honest. Let me just set the scene. A big shout out to Lenzie Rugby Club in Glasgow for inviting me along. So this is not a slight on them. They're absolutely amazing hosts. The hoster, being me, weren't so great. Now, Nigel Owens pulled out about 3 or 4 weeks before. I get called up, and the guys at this, a big shout out, Mike, to you, who listens to the podcast. And there's about 20 or 30 younger lads who weren't going to the event when Nigel Owens was booked, but when they heard that Big Jim from the Rugby Pod was going, they came out in their droves, all 30 of them.
Amen.
Amen. So I'm thinking, if there's a big Rugby Pod contingent here, they know what they're getting. They want blood. They want the rabbit story. They want podcast stories. No, they don't. No, they don't. They might, but the masses of 300 people in there did not want that. Andrew.
Oh, no.
Andrew. Now, the whole part of comedy and stand-up and after the speaking, you got to take the rough with the smooth, right? And you've got to be, I always say, people are like, what happens when it doesn't go well? You've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable is how I say it. That's the analogy. Well, I was uncomfortable. I hit them with an apology why Nigel Owens wasn't there. And then I've gone straight into it. I've got this story about what it is to be Scottish and how Kelly Brown has got a girl's name and his dad's English and his mum's Irish and he's not Scottish. And John Barclay was born in Hong Kong, so he's Chinese. That didn't go down well. And
how do you know what it's like to be Scottish?
Because I'm more Scottish than I'm half Scottish. So, and this is what I mean. I hit them with the Northern Hebridean accent, the capital of Scotland, Swindon, apologised for my Scottish accent. Didn't go down well.
Nothing.
Hit them. So I thought, right, you get it. This crowd is getting it. They are getting the Rabbitgate story. They are getting the Rabbitgate story from 2015 World Cup that made us go viral. Shit sandwich. Tumbleweeds. So I thought the only way back here is the Andy Good, start of the podcast, hair transplant, but should have got a gastric band. I thought that if that's not going to get them,
nothing will. And it didn't.
Shit. Not even a whisper.
Oh,
do you know?
No.
I brought it back just. I went down the rugby #rugby family values inclusion loved it. They absolutely loved it.
There we go.
So at the end, with sweat beading off my head, my armpits were leaking, the velvet jacket, which was a just off black colour, was now dark black. I've hit them with #rugby values, and I've absolutely gone down a storm. If only someone would have said to start the speech with that and maybe hit them with the rabbits and the gastric bands at the end. And we did a quick Q&A, and some young lad from the back shouted, "Biggest bush, you or Goodey?" And I tried to go into this story about bushes and pubic hair. And you know, when you just read the room?
Yeah.
I chopped my pint and walked off, and that was it.
Oh, no.
That was the end. So, yeah. So big shout out to Lindsay, raising some funds for the clubhouse. You arguably shouldn't have given me my fee, but maybe you should have paid me double. I don't know what happens, but nonetheless, it took me out my comfort zone.
And then Family Day Sunday, Pablo cooked a hell. Pablo cooked a hell of a roast chicken on Sunday. My folks came over. We had a big roast chicken. Pablo was doing his best, sweating in the food, but he produced the goods.
Talking of chickens and turkeys in Carvery,
yeah.
Have you ever been to my old tribal tattoo, Toby Carvery? Toby Carvery, absolute mongrel, mate. I have it. I have not been to. I don't reckon you've been. This is why it is. It doesn't sound the best. It's basically an all-you-can-eat Toby Carvery, but you don't get to eat all the meat. But literally, you need a chainsaw to cut. But with 4 kids not wanting to cook, it was an absolute breeze. It was a bottomless Coke and Fanta, which the kids aren't allowed, and it was bottomless veg, which the kids don't want. But I was loving it. I was absolutely loving it. So big shout out to Toby Carvery.
That's what you had on Sunday, was it? But you take
That's what I had on Sunday.
Did you take the chainsaw or not?
Well, I was that hungry, man. I was just swallowing it, and yeah. But it's slightly different. It's not. I don't know what. I wouldn't say it's down your line of clientele. Tribal tattoos. No. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, down by your throat. Like that. That was the kind of clientele we're talking about. I fitted in nicely, I'll be honest. Yeah.
And did you tell Beck this is what your steak tastes like when it's absolute wallet? It is tougher than your old boots.
I said to Beck, if these after the speeches carry on, we are living in here, because this is every night. On a Monday, they've got like a 2-for-1 on chicken budgie or whatever they want to call it, and chips. That's us. I said I'm happy to do that. But no.
Nice. Well, I've got something to say about. I mean, today I was back in the gym. I say back in the gym. I went for a spin class today. We're going on holiday in a couple of weeks, so I need to shift about 10 kilos. Can you do that in a couple of weeks, do you reckon?
With your diet, I don't think so.
I know tweak meals have been absolutely dominating. But yeah, I was back in spinning again this morning. I've got 2 apologies to make to my fellow classmates. First and foremost, Jim, and you'll appreciate this, I've got to apologise to them. I absolutely dominated the spin class. Now, it doesn't matter that all the women in there were over 60 years of age, but I absolutely dominated all these women in the spin class. And you taught me about this, about the leaderboard when you see it. When you're doing the spin class and you've got that interaction with the leaderboard, and I'm just flying. So I apologise to all those women. I felt a little bit like you, Jim, when you played against India back in the day and you scored that hat trick, one from about 60 metres out. You can only beat what's in front of you, can't you?
Exactly right. Andrew, you can go as hard as you can go, but if people ain't going that hard, then your go in hard is very hard.
Yeah, exactly. So I dominate that. But then I've got to apologise to all those women as well, because off the back of Pablo's roast chicken on Sunday, when you have the stuffing, tell the farts that the next day.
Oh, my goodness, mate.
Sage and onion stuffing farts. Yeah. I mean, I just filled the room with absolute pace and power on the bike, but also absolute power coming out my arse as well. So 2 apologies to anyone that was in my spin class this morning. It was Pablo's fault, is all I'm saying.
Did you guys see Rassie celebrating at home in his pants?
Mate, my pants. I mean, fair play. Still got some legs on him. Like when you retire, Jim, your legs have disappeared, and not that you had any anyway.
Genetics.
My God, Rassie's still got some quads on him when he wants them. But yeah, he's got a couple of beers in the morning, very early morning in South Africa, and he's got his pants on the sofa. I mean, who doesn't do that? The best bit about it, though, that's how he's dressed. Yeah, he's got a video link straight into the coach's box on his laptop. So I was just expecting to see a bit of bush pop out the bottom, maybe. Sometimes when you just got your boxes on, the old boy pokes out. That's what I was hoping for, really. But he's got his laptop. He's watching the game. He's got his laptop, a direct video link into the coach's box, and he's there. He's there in his pants. What a legend!
Just on his boxers, though. Who wears baggy boxers?
That's why I thought the bush might pop out or something, or maybe he's just got a mega bush.
But
so that's why he's got to be baggy.
Yeah, maybe it's a South African thing. I always found that Australians wear pants. I mean, I can't fathom wearing a pair of pants. Like, tell the wedgies that and tell the skid marks that.
Let's get on to the premiership action then. Exeter, are they back after their win away at Sale?
Stuart Hogg's back as well.
Yeah, Hoggy's back.
Hoggy was good, mate. Hoggy was really good. Listen, they're always going to come back, Exeter, aren't they? You know, we spoke about it last week, missing a few boys. They get Hoggy back in the team. Slady found some quality form again. Plays with the tightest of tight shorts, and then he even pulls them up when he kicks at goal. And he's got a lovely tan, hasn't he, Jim?
He looks great. He did. He had a bit of claret as well. Not that we want to enforce claret for people to look a bit hard and a bit edgy, but nonetheless, he looked hard and edgy.
Yeah. With
a bit of claret. Yeah, I thought Exeter were really good. And actually, when you mention it, Andrew, and we've spoken about Exeter, some idiot said they wouldn't make the top four. Of all the places you want to go, having lost 2 games, it's probably not up to Sale. So, and the way that Sale play, I know that Sale got a red card. Oh my Van Ransburg, what are you doing, mate? What are you doing, big fella? He's a big fella, so I don't want to say too much. But yeah, Exeter, are they back? It was a stuffy game. What about Will Whitty's try?
Mate, it just made me think of you, Jim. How have you got that in your locker? Because he's gone off the left foot, off the right foot. He's won the race. He's a good lad, Will Whitty. I played with him up at Newcastle. Top boy. And mate, I was really pleased for him, actually, because people are just laughing, aren't they? He charged it down. And then when you see a big guy running after the ball, you're thinking, mate, you're never going to win the race. It's Mr. Gilmore's jacket. What is it? You're just getting ripped, aren't you? And everyone's just giggling. Whether you're watching it, whether you're on his team, the only panic is the Sale boys. And then he had the touch of Messi, basically, wasn't it?
It was great commentary. The thing is, it was great commentary. But with, like, even if Brodie Retallick or Jim Hamilton did that, it'd be the same. Everyone would be
hold on a minute. Are you putting yourself in the same bracket as Brodie Retallick?
No, I'm putting myself in the bracket of a tall, athletic second row, as in who could be perceived as quite slow. But either way, it's been laughed at. So I don't think it's Will Whitty. We're laughing about it. Let's be honest, it was an unbelievable finish. It really was.
He's used both feet as well. Just to remind everybody, he's used both feet. In first touch, I think was right foot. Second touch, left foot, and it took him away from the Sale chasers. Mate, it was class, absolute class. If he tried it again, absolutely no chance of him doing it. 1 foot, left foot, right foot kind of thing. But it was absolute class. I'm really pleased for him. It was a hell of a ding dong, actually. The physicality in that game, in the first half, especially, was off the charts. And I listened to Alex Sanderson afterwards, and it's now become a theme for Sale, really. Their first 3 games, they've flown into a big lead or flown into a lead at the weekend. And then, you go back to Bath nearly chipped them off. I think they were 17-0 up against Bath or something. They were 17 points up against Irish a week later, and then they had a decent lead against Exeter in the first half, or they were ahead in the first half, and then they've capitulated in the second half. Maybe there's a fitness issue there, because I watched that first half, and Shona is just going banging boys. John O'Ross is smashing boys. Bisa in the second row. Cam Neild as well in the back row. They're just hoeing into everything. And it looked great, but then they just shot themselves out. They were absolutely done just before half time, really. And that's where Slady scores his first try. And then Van Rensburg, middle tackle, he does it all the time. Like, he got away. I say he got away with it. He did one in the first half, which was very similar, but like half an inch lower or an inch lower. And that's the borderline, isn't it? He flies into this tackle out the line. And Alex Sanderson said afterwards, that wasn't where the game was lost. Well, I beg to differ, because they'd conceded 2 tries within about 5 minutes, which took Exeter out of touch completely. And it's just ridiculous, wasn't it? When you're coming off the line with line speed, and this is what World Rugby are trying to get away from. Teams just blitzing, out of control, flying out the line to spook the attack, but also to outmuscle them and physically dominate them. He doesn't dip at all. And some people were saying, it wasn't shoulder to head. That was the whiplash that got him. But it's a clear red card every day of the week these days, isn't it, Jim?
A couple of yellow cards to Bath, and a massive crowd at home for Bristol helped them get home in the West Country derby, didn't it?
Oh, did not see, with all due respect to Bath, that performance coming. But hats off to them. They played very well. There's a few talking points out of that game, Andrew. You were the site commissioner. Mate, you were the site commissioner from that game. So we'll get on to that. Let me just talk up Bath, because I thought they were really physical. I thought they played really well. Bristol, and on my semi, who's out now, as we know, for 16 weeks or whatever it is. We had Big John Afoa on last week. He knew that Big Semi weren't coming back, let's be honest.
he did.
But he didn't tell us. But Andrew, over to you, because were you sighting commissioner on Friday night?
No, I reckon I'd make a hell of a
Twitter. You were Twitter sighting commissioner.
Just Twitter reporting, mate. And just give my opinion. And again, some people coming back at me, absolutely trying to hammer me for just giving an opinion on the facts of rugby union, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, Ian Tempest. I mean,
shave it off.
Yeah, just shave the head, mate. Just shave the head. And I don't want to be too harsh. The first try.
Just say it. Yeah. What happened? What did you see?
Well, the first try that Bristol score, mate, Carl Dixon must be either in the biscuit tin. I know I eat a lot of biscuits for people that say that he's having a massive poo, because there was the clearest knock on by Harry Randall, and he's not even said anything. Then they score pretty much straight away. Stephen Luatua gets through and does the big wonder dive, the ash splash or whatever it was. It's the clear as day, Carl Dixon. What are you doing? You got your head in the biscuit tin, or you're in the toilet having a poo. Go back for it, check it. Ridiculous. So Bath get done on that. Then a bit later, they score an unbelievable try. Bath do. Ajomo, who I really like as a player, he's actually sent me a couple of messages on social media. Seems a really nice young lad and a hell of a player in terms of his future. Scores an unbelievable try, and Tempest blows up for a knock-on. He blew it up before. Well, he blew it up before, didn't he? Yeah. It was a millisecond before he put the ball down. And I think the learning here as a referee, just let the try be scored and then you can check it. Because there was no knock on there. It's a 14-point swing. Bristol shouldn't have had their try that they were given. Bath should have had one that was disallowed because of a knock on, where there was no one anywhere near the ball being knocked on. And then the try at the end, and Jim, this is your area of expertise. Sorry. The try at the end, and Jim, this is your area of expertise. The driving maul, biggest crossing or obstruction you've ever seen in your life. True.
Well, yeah, it is.
Thank you.
It is. But this is the thing around ruggers, isn't it? There's so many of them things that you can pick up on, the little nuances. But you're right. The level of refereeing needs to be up with a level of play. And we can sit here and we can probably debate it all day long. A lot of the time it's not, but it's a difficult job to be a referee.
Yeah, it is.
Hence why you have the TMO. And this is the thing, Andrew, maybe if we carry on talking about bushes and all that, this podcast will naturally come to its organic end. That could happen. But you listen to the commentators, and my point being is you're picking these things up. You listen to the very top end commentators. I think Brian O'Driscoll, was he commentating on the one on Friday?
Yeah, but he missed the crossing for the line out.
Yeah, but he got the knock on though. But he got it on after.
100%.
And Austin's very good. Yeah. And again, it's something that I've questioned whether or not it should be or shouldn't be the case. But I kind of think it should be, is that the TMO can hear the commentary, and that almost influences them, because obviously ex-players and high-end players pick up them things. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The kind of little things that can influence a game. So
I'll be honest, I did get corrected on that, because I said it last season on our podcast around the TMO can hear the live in-game commentary feed, but as soon as he is asked a question, or as soon as there's something where he buzzes in, they cut all the comms, so he can't.
But that's really interesting, because that doesn't matter because it's already been flagged. Do you know what I mean? So in the lead up to that, a lot of the time, so as soon as he gets told, can you check that for me?
Yeah,
it switches off, does it?
Yeah. That's what I'm told.
All right,
that is what I'm told.
Wasn't the only place there were some big decisions. How did Leicester win that? 12-3 down, 5 minutes to play. Huge win of series.
Yeah, massive. But yeah, I mean they found the bite again, haven't they? You're hearing out of the camp that they found the fight within the camp to come out and win these games. A couple of things, and I'll be very honest. I was delighted for Leicester. I was there. The place was rocking. The corporate hospitality was busy. The Crumbly Terrace was loud again, and all that stuff. And it was like the Leicester of old. Did they deserve to win? Absolutely not. Saracens dominated. the first sort of 75 minutes, really, in terms of the way they played, their game management, their kicking game, etc., etc. And we'll come on to the point at the end, because Saracens got, I think, a hard done by as well at the end. And yes, I said it, James, you're looking at me in absolute shock. But
no, I agree with you. But I agree on the Leicester thing with the bite, is that you've got to have the right tools to go to a street fight. And Leicester have now got that. And look, I know you've got a few more points, but I think from my perspective, Leicester and Saracens were the two bookends of my rugby career.
Yeah.
Leicester, I've always said, gave me an opportunity, gave me a life. And that style of rugby that they played, that is why I love watching that style now. And as we've spoken about a few times this season, albeit the third game in, is that Leicester have now got that. And did you see the camera angle that the Leicester Tigers social media team have obviously taken from the crowd perspective, from the Crumbie, where it was going around, they scored the try and it was all the fans and stuff like that. It took you into the stadium, which, as we know, is a fantastic place to play. And I felt a bit emotional for them. Yeah. Not just off that, but as in everyone involved in the club of Leicester and the fans.
Yeah, and you saw what it meant afterwards, like Genji and poor old Brett Deacon, your mate.
Oh, me old whiplash.
He got absolute whiplash when Genji's given him the biggest man hug you've ever seen. So, yeah, listen, if you're delving into the depths of the game, I think Mark McCall will be really frustrated with himself. They're in control of the game, 12-3 up. Weather conditions were horrible. Like, I was there, atmosphere was unbelievable, but you couldn't play any rugby in it. And Brett Deacon said it in, I think, the in-game interview. You're better off not having the ball in these situations, but it's about managing the territory, managing the field, and managing your kicking game to exert pressure on the opposition. Saracens had that in abundance, didn't they? Mark McCall will be frustrated with himself. He took Faz off with 12 minutes to go. Didn't get it at all.
As the Leicester subs were just kind of coming on.
Yeah. So Genge comes on, Van Portfleet comes on, who I thought had made a real difference. Freddie Stewart as well. But he took Farrell and Erloff with 10, 12 minutes to go. And maybe he's looking back on it now and going, did I need to make those substitutions? Did I need to? Faz is the absolute leader, and he's the perfect guy in those conditions as a 10 to run the ship to get you to 12-3. Maybe Mark McCall thought, the game's done, I can just pull him off and, we'll just carry on doing what we're doing. But hindsight, Leicester obviously got the penalty to pull them back into losing bonus point range at 12-6. And then there is the big debate around what happened at the end. And without a shadow of a doubt, it is a penalty to Leicester for Aled Davis diving on Guy Porter and shoving him into touch once he's on the floor. You can't do that. But again, going back to the TMO and going back to the referee, Christoph Ridley, who I'm pretty sure a lot of the Saracens fans are very frustrated with, A, for this, what we're going to talk about now, but also B, when he does give the penalty try, do you see him smiling? Did you see that, Jim?
Saw that.
No, I didn't, Andrew. No.
Yeah, he's kind of smiling and looking.
Not kind of. He has a massive grin.
Yeah, it's a big old grin that he's smiling and looking down, which I don't think is a great look. But what the TMO, and in all the excitement, he does the right thing to check it. It's the last play of the game. He thinks there's something up. He thinks there's something that's not quite right, so he checks it with the TMO. And Aled Davis flies in, and it is a penalty to Leicester. But what they don't check is what Dan Kelly does.
Yes, he does. Forearms him on the floor.
Yeah, in retaliation.
Is that what he's been cited for? Is that what he's been cited for? It is.
Yeah. So what happens is, obviously Dan Kelly sees it, he's raging, thinks the game's lost, and then flies in and shoulder to the head of Aled Davis when he's prone lying on the floor. And then, so you've gone, right, the initial penalty would have been to Leicester for what Aled Davis did, but we turned it round because Dan Kelly, you shouldered someone on the head. And Saracen, and then apparently Faz, after the game, and I didn't see it because I was back in the corporate side to it, has chased the referee and is shouting at him on the field and all this stuff.
About that decision?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because I was going to do an Andrew Good, and I was going to rewind and video it and put it on social, but I didn't want to do that. Dan Kelly's agent is my agent, and he's a good lad as well, and a good player. But I picked that up and thought, how has that not been checked? But because I am not a rugby citing officer, nor wanna be, Goody, I didn't put it on.
Maybe there's a job there for me, isn't there?
I don't think maybe. I think you are absolutely the right man to do that.
And Northampton are 3 from 3 after their win over London Irish. What do you make of that game?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've got to remember the weather was atrocious across most of the games this weekend. And Saints actually flew out the blocks, went 17-0 up, I think. Proctor scored a try for a lovely little kick through. And they were flying. But then Irish do what Irish have done at the start of the Premiership and have come back into it when they've gifted a 17-point lead. Not gifted, but, gone behind 17-0 down and fought their way back into the game and actually looked the better team in the second half. Got themselves into the lead. Parton scored a decent try, some good hands. And then, towards the Albert Tuisuri, people say it's a headbutt, people say it was just a coming together of two foreheads. Alex Waller was just going around trying to wind people up to get a penalty. Me, I'll blow back.
A coming together of two foreheads. I thought you were going to say something else then.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And Alex Waller was sort of winding people up, grabbing, and it's all this hard thing, isn't it? The fake hard man of everyone.
Oh, don't say hard. Stop saying that.
Well, it's the fake hard man. Everyone thinks no one can throw a punch anymore, and then Albert Tuisuri grabs him, and the foreheads came together very gently, but it is a penalty. You can't do that. He instigated just touching foreheads, and
Can you say something else? Can you say it? Can you say foreskin? Just say foreskin once.
Jim, I don't think they touched foreskins. It was foreheads.
I don't either. But when I think of coming together of four, that word just wants to slip off the tongue.
Yeah. So how mature are we? And listen, he'll be frustrated with himself. But Irish still had a couple of chances to win it. Paddy Jackson goes to the drop goal. Obviously, there was the big debate around Courtney Lawes' tackle. Was it no arms? I thought that was fine.
So on that there, do you think the referee, if he hadn't have gone for that drop goal, then Paddy Jackson would have blown up with the TMO in his ear? Because that's an interesting thing. Like, is he saying to check the tackle, or is he saying check? Or because obviously you're watching it on TV and you're like, well, is he telling the ref to give the pen there, or is he checking it? And it's just lucky that Paddy Jackson has dropped the goal and missed it, and they've gone back and looked at it retrospectively.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I think when a TMO buzzes in and says check, the ref has to stop the game anyway. And so then they'd come to the decision of whether there was another ruck and the ball would have been, Irish would have been going through the phases and trying to find a penalty or something. When a TMO comes in and says check, the ref has to stop the game then and check it. It doesn't really let play go on and then a natural break and then go back and check it. When he comes in and says check, I think the TMO was David Rose. So yeah, I mean, Paddy Jackson, I mean, I've hit worse drop goals than that, Paddy, so don't worry about it. Difficult conditions. But they check Courtney Lawes' tackling, and for me, he's trying to wrap. His arm does get knocked. His left arm's round, and I think it was the right decision, to be honest. That it wasn't I think it's the right decision that it wasn't an illegal no arms tackle. He was trying to wrap, but it was the right thing to do to check it, especially at the end of the game where the result is on the line.
Well, speaking of Northampton's win over London Irish, we're going to have a chat now with a man who was right at the heart of the action in the dying stages of that one. Saints, England and British and Irish Lions forward Courtney Lawes joins us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Very well.
Courtney, class to have you on. I know we spoke, I mean, it feels like 5 years ago, but during COVID, a lot's happened in your life since then. And not a lot's happened with mine. I'm still on Zoom. I'm still doing it remotely. But watching it, I feel like as if I've been a part of it. Courtney, let's just start with the obvious thing around the weekend. You're damned if you go high, you're damned if you go low. Was it squeaky bum time at the weekend? I watched you tackle back, actually. When I watched it, I didn't think no arms. I thought it was a good tackle, but you can obviously hear, I don't know if you can hear the interaction between the ref and the TMO as that's going on. You probably can't, but were you worried when you made the tackle?
No, I mean, I looked at it because I went to wrap my arm and then my arm kind of gets knocked down. And as soon as I feel that happen, I just know that I've got to get it through. Otherwise, I'll probably get pinged. But my arm's out. I'm not shoulder charging or anything like that. So I knew I was. Well, I suppose it's down to interpretation nowadays. But that would have been a soft penalty if that had got called, I think.
Let's talk positive then. Let's talk about the start that Saints have had to the season. 3 from 3. Really good place at the minute. I know Boydie said after the game at the weekend it was a bit of a get out of jail free card that you boys played. But the Premiership's so close, and loads of games that are going to go one way or the other, and really tight games. But you boys are flying at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing pretty crap, but we're winning. Honest. If I'm honest, we got on quite lucky, and there's only so long we can continue to do this before it catches up with us. But the positive thing about it is we have the talent in absolute spades. There's no doubt in my mind that we can be the best team in the league if we can put our game plan together consistently throughout the 80 minutes. And you see glimpses of it. We're so hard to stop. We've got great D at times. It's just putting it together and making sure it's the consistency thing for us, and it has been for the last few years. But that's what we need to get right.
Let's talk British and Irish Lions now, because you were one of the star players on the tour for me. You're obviously in the Test series as well. Disappointing. How was the tour for you? Did you kind of expect to go on it, or was it a bit of a Brucey bonus? Because I know there's been a few injuries previously. But first and foremost, there was a bit of drama around the call-up as well, wasn't there? Because someone had your wrong email address.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah. Well, a few emails got sent about, didn't they? But to loads of people. And I, as far as I know, I didn't get one. So, so I was kind of thinking, well, that either means that I'm nowhere near the squad, because there was a lot of people that kind of ifing and butting if they were going to get in, or I'm in. Do you know what I mean? It was a kind of save the date thing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking, I can't be that far away. Do you know what I mean? Even though I hadn't played. But yeah, I guess I hadn't played at all. I think I played 2 games for Saints and a game off the bench and a starting game against Italy before I got injured again. And I wasn't back fit before the Lions team got picked. So obviously I wasn't too confident in my chances. But I kind of knew, playing South Africa and my experience, that there was always a chance.
Let's chat about England then. Obviously, you said it yourself earlier. You're knocking on a bit. You don't look like you're knocking on a bit when you're actually playing. I know you've had a couple of injuries that have kept you out, but when you're on the field, you're giving absolutely everything, and you're still going around banging boys like you're 21 years of age. Is the 2023 World Cup, is that kind of on the horizon for you as something that you're really aiming for as potentially the last big hurrah?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I honestly don't feel, even though I'm getting on a bit, I feel like I'm still improving. I still feel like I've got a bit left to give, and I think that's important. And I 100% want to make it to the World Cup, and I want to be playing my best rugby when I get there, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about away from the pitch, Courtney? Like I mentioned earlier, we had a bit of a chat during lockdown over Zoom, and I think it's great. We're hearing more players with opinions. We're seeing more players in the media showing the characters. Obviously, Genji doing his thing in podcasts in the media world, but captaining Leicester, obviously, Marla does his thing. Again, when we spoke, been really intrigued by how much you put yourself out there with some of your opinions. Is the media in this kind of world that we seem to think that we're in, Goodey, is a world that you want to enter in with your profile and your opinions and your views on the world and life after rugby? You're going to try and tie the two together, or is it head down and wait and see what happens?
Yeah, for the minute, it's definitely head down, wait and see what happens. I mean, I've kind of, I got in the mix for a bit there, and then I was like, I ain't got time to be out sitting on Twitter all day. I've got 4 kids, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is pulling the hair out. So I was like, I literally haven't got time to be arguing with numpties on Twitter all day. So, maybe when the kids are a bit older and they don't need so much attention and that, then I might get back into it. But for the minute, I've just got no time for it.
And last question from me. What's the wheels you're driving at the minute? I love hearing about boys driving different cars. I've heard a nice rumour about yours, mate. Talk to me.
I've got a Bentley.
Hey, there we go.
the contrast. At 33 at Saracens, I don't know if the masses have told you, my last car was a Ford Mondeo, aka the Ford Mondingo. So that was me trying to stay humble, but I would have much preferred a Bentley. Good on you.
There you go. What a legend.
Cheers,
All right, Courtney, thank you very much for coming on the show. Best of luck for the rest of the season, the Autumn Internationals and 2023. Hopefully we see you playing your best rugby in France in a couple of years, mate.
Awesome, mate. Cheers. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Courts.
Class, Courtney. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks,
no worries, guys.
Top lad.
Yeah, he's hard as well. In your prime, Jim, against Courtney Lawes, who's winning the street fight there?
Well, there's different types of hard, isn't there?
Go on.
He's driving a Bentley and I'm driving a Ford Mondeo. All I'm saying is when you get that comfortable, do you really, really want to win that street fight? Probably not, is what I'm saying. If you're scraping the barrel, like my good self, Jim Hamilton, you're fighting for your life, Andrew. Do you know what I mean? But no, I watched him hitting players when he came on, and that's the thing. He did hit a bit high. He hit scrum halves and stuff like that, which you could do, and you were obviously blitzing them, blindsiding them, and that was his thing. But I think the way he evolved his game over the last 4 or 5 years, in terms of his tackle technique, his forward shots, the way that he was carrying the ball, he deserved to be on the Lions tour. And, he's a lovely lad as well. I spoke to him, I don't know if I mentioned it, during COVID and lockdown there. So I like the fact that he puts himself out there. He's obviously made a tactile, conscious move to not put himself out there as much, but we want to hear what Courtney Lawes is saying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If Courtney speaks, we listen, and I listen.
Well, before we move on to Northampton, we need to give a shout out to England's women who are heading to Cinch Stadium at Franklin Gardens this autumn. They'll be facing New Zealand as part of their Autumn International Series on Sunday, November the 7th. Tickets are on sale and starting at 15 quid for adults and 5 quid for juniors. Visit northamptonsaints.co.uk/Red Roses to buy your tickets now. Let's round up the rest of the premiership action now then. Well, it wasn't the best game, was it, Newcastle Wasps?
No. Again, if there's any place that you don't want to go to when the weather's abysmal, it's up in Newcastle at Kingston Park. It was a real scrappy game. There was a contentious red card. Tom Penny, which Dean Richards has gone pretty wild about in the press. Jimmy Gopper's holding his leg in a ruck. He's trying to force his way off. Jimmy Gopper started pushing him. He's pushed him 3 or 4 times, and the last time he's pushed him, he's ended up pushing him in the face, and a finger's gone in his eye. So he gets sent off for that.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing is, and I think this is where referees, it's going to happen, right? There's always niggle. So you can't throw a punch now. You can't do anything. You can't cheap shot. Everything will get seen. If you're holding someone in a ruck when they're trying to get out, for me, I think the way you get rid of that is just yellow card that person. So
stamp on. Oh, sorry.
You can't do that, Jim. So the initial penalty, the initial instigator is Jimmy Gopperth holding Tom Penny on the floor when he's trying to get out. And, there's that little horrible niggle in the game, isn't there? So
what they should do with that, no, they should, look, not stamping, but the scars on my hands of when you're holding people in, if you get 6 studs, old school, on the upside of your hand with a rotation, it ain't nice. It ain't nice.
No.
Maybe that's the only thing they should bring back. It's just allowing that, the rotation of 6 studs on another man's or another human being's hand. And then that will stop.
But then Wasps will be kicking themselves, literally. And Dan Robson, is a wonderful player. We've talked to him a hell of a lot on the podcast. But unfortunately, when you've had the shocker that he's had with a minute to go, you've got to mention it. Wasps were winning the game. A minute to go, they're in Newcastle's 22, and they've got a turnover, so they're in the 22. All they've got to do is play out about 60 seconds. So set a pod up, pick and go, stay legal, boot the ball out, you win the game. You're going back from the cold northeast, back to Wasps, back to Coventry, back to your luxurious home just overlooking the Coventry Canal with 4 points in the bag. No. For some reason, Dan Robson gets the ball from the bottom of the rock, fires out a 20-metre pass to Jacob Umaga around his feet. He doesn't really control it or anything. Newcastle pick it up, go the length, 3 or 4 phases later, Callum chicks through and scores a winning try. So Wasps have only got themselves to blame for that, but it was a horrible, scrappy game. And, to me, Newcastle won, and I play for Newcastle as well, so that's okay.
Well, shall we move on? Shall we take a break from the code and play a little game? Guess the go at.
Please.
Oh, yes.
Please.
Yes. Ready?
And go.
Tom Brady.
No.
Oh, okay. Male.
Yes.
Football.
No.
Rugby union.
No.
Cricket.
No.
NFL.
No.
Why are you looking down?
Boxing.
No.
F1.
Oh,
No.
Golf.
No.
Jesus. NBA.
Yes.
Oh, NBA. LeBron James.
No.
Oh,
what do you mean, LeBron James?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes,
No.
I've got it. I've got it.
Black Mamba.
No. Wow,
How have you not got the greatest of all time? It best be who I'm about to say. It's frightening because I'm there. As soon as he says it, I'm thinking, and I've got a checklist in my mind, Andrew. Anyway, how do you feel? It's not about me. It's about you.
Well, if it's not Black Mamba, then I don't know who it can be.
It's Michael Jordan.
It's Michael Jordan.
Oh, I didn't even think about
What
it.
do you mean? Like, as in the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I don't know. Man, I didn't even think. I haven't watched that. I'm not into basketball, so.
I literally Googled greatest sportsman of all time just so there could be no arguments to that.
Yeah,
And that
I didn't even think.
Up, so.
Didn't even think. There we go. Jim, what did you write down?
Tyson Fury.
Oh, there we go.
But that isn't my answer. My answer is Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I bloody love this game.
Well done,
so
Jim.
much easier on the other foot. But
It is,
I love
isn't it?
how you have prepped by writing different sports stars.
I had to this week. I had to write sports down because I'm like, oh, it is the panic, isn't it? But basketball, mate, basketball, that ain't me.
All right, let's finish things off with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, a few bits of good this week. We're going to start off in France, and I mentioned them last week. Toulouse roll on. They're 5 from 5 after beating Biarritz at the weekend. So tip the slipper to them. What else is good? Ben Moon played his 200th premiership game at the weekend for Exeter Chiefs. So a massive shout out to him.
Mooney.
We'll stay in the Exeter bubble. Not that they're in a bubble, but we'll stay with Exeter Chiefs, because Will Whitty's got to get a mention for that skill. The charge down, the chase, the hack on with the right, the hack on with the left. The dribble was unbelievable. Lionel Messi-esque. So Will Whitty gets a mention in the good this week. That was the game clincher for Exeter, so well done to him. We're going to go further up north now, and we're going to go to Newcastle. Callum Chick of the Falcons. A scrappy game, horrible game. He scored the winner at the end, but he made over 100 metres ball in hand, James. So a big shout out to Callum Chick. We mentioned them earlier. Saints and Leicester Tigers, both 3 from 3. Leicester top of the league, Saints as well, 3 games, 3 victories. So big shout out to those boys. Adam Hastings gets his first start for Gloucester and dominates, I thought, for them, and dominates the Cherry and Whites to lead them to their first victory of the season. So well done to Adam Hastings. What else was good? 2 bits, both from South Africa. First bit, Lukanyuam. What an offload. Absolutely ridiculous. Round the back, under pressure for Diolande's try. Lukanyuam looks like the coolest cucumber out there. But the good this week, it's not going to Rassie for dancing his pants, but it's going to the South Africans as a general collective. They're back to number 1 in the world. They beat the All Blacks in an incredible game over in Australia. They've answered a lot of critics. They had a tough time, but watching that game was unbelievable. So the good this week goes to the Springboks.
Error.
The bad, a few bits of bad. We're going to stick with the South African theme, and we just mentioned it. The South African provinces played 4, lost 4 this weekend. Pants down all over the place, so they get a mention in the bad. Jack Nienaber, he's going to get a mention as well, because apparently he admitted to asking the water boy, to chase the assistant referee at the touchline and shout at him to tell him it should be a 50-22.
That was Andy Edwards, Saracens fitness trainer.
Was it him?
Famous.
I mean, why are you being horrible about Saracens?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him doing that.
There you go.
But I'm controversial.
There you are. So that gets a mention in the bad this week. What else was bad? We're going to mention Wasps in the bad this week, James.
Well, how can I argue with that, really?
Exactly. And we're just going to put their last minute of rugby union from the game at the weekend in as the bad. The ball was in the Falcons 22, and you've managed to lose the game from there, guys. So frustrating for Lee Blackett, and Wasps get a mention in the bad this week. What else was bad? Albert Tuisui lost his head a little bit, pushed his forehead. 2 foreheads came together, Jim. Not 4 skins, 2 foreheads came together. Here's an Alex Wallers, which gave a penalty away to lose the game. So that was pretty bad. But the bad this week goes to Olmai Semi. I am absolutely devastated that Olmai Semi Randrandra is out for 4 months, 16 weeks. He's had a knee op. He did it in the sevens, playing for Fiji, winning the gold medal. People want to see Semi in the Premiership. Semi gives people a semi in the Premiership, doesn't he, Jim? So the bad this week, unfortunately, goes to Semi Randrandra for being out for 4 months with a knee injury.
I think you're devastated. Imagine how Pat feels. I know he said he weren't. I know he said there's a lot of rugby at the end of the season. Pat, mate, I like my biscuit as well. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Ugly, couple of bits of ugly this weekend, and it's all based around red cards, really.
Of course it is. Of course it
has to be. Ted Hill, we mentioned that earlier, lifting a player and dumping him to the ground. Lloyd Evans head first into the ground. I know there's a bit of conjecture around did he get kicked first, but straight red card for me. That was pretty bad. Tom Penny getting red carded, finger in the eye. I didn't think it's that bad. More unfortunate, but it doesn't look very good, so it gets a mention in the ugly. Joe Takori, have a look at this tackle if you get a chance. Big high shot on Roman Rufanak, nearly taking his head off in the top 14 for Toulouse against Biarritz. But the ugly this week goes to Rohan Jansi van Rensburg's tackle on Harvey Skinner, flying out the line, out of control, absolutely slippers him on the floor, and then runs back into the defensive line and doesn't even worry about him. Gets a red card, looks shocked. It's a red card all day long, Jim. So the ugly this week goes to Rohan Jansi van Rensburg's tackle.
Thanks, Goody. And you got a shout out to finish off with, don't you, Jim?
I've got a big shout out to the Parachute Regiment. They're raising money to get elite soldiers and their families out of Afghan and back to the UK. They managed to get about half out during the evacuation back in August, but there's still a lot to do and there's still a lot of people left in Afghanistan and they're still in danger. Obviously, we don't want to get political and get involved in all that, but it's come from a good source who's trying to do good things. And obviously, the British military, as well as other military organisations, doing great things across the world. But they're raising money via the crowdfunder. It's crowdfunder.co.uk/support our Afghans. They've raised about 50% of their target, but any help from us at the podcast and the millions of listeners would be greatly appreciated. So a big shout out to everyone in the military doing good things.
Hear, hear.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goody. Thanks, producer Tristan. And thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. And make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Rugby Spod.
Spotify pod.